Welcome back to the Football Tragics. It's EPL Matchday 22. There was some upsets. There was some red cards. There was some, I don't know what's going on. But Baxter, before we jump into that, we're going to introduce back around the grounds. We're going to jump around. We're going to talk about a few big talking points. Now, I'm not talking we're going to say every single thing that's happened in world football, but we will touch on a few. But before we do jump into that, mate, you're wearing that Arsenal shirt. We'll talk about it a little bit longer.
Yep.
In five words, just explain to me how you're feeling about the match week that was just gone.
Up, down, 360, sad, happy.
Well, there you go. It's not all doom and gloom for Arsenal. You are still sitting top of the league, but let's talk about is around the grounds. The first one we're going to throw it to, we're going to save the best to last. We'll throw it to Leeds sacking Jesse March. Now, he's come in. He has been very, very underwhelming since he has taken over this Leeds side. So, again, they sacked Bielsa, who was underwhelming. He had the heart of the fans. The players would fight for him. The players, I reckon, would kill for him if he asked them to. They brought in Jesse. He's now fired. What do you make of this? Right decision, wrong decision. Out there, does this open the doors for someone like Ange Postecoglou to come into the Premier League?
Yeah, it opens up a wide range of doors at the moment. They currently sit equal 17th, only ahead on for and against Everton there, but what we're going to touch on later on could push them up the table, if not more. I think Leeds need to stick with the manager. It's not all doom and gloom for Leeds, but it just gives them some time. Maybe a big Sammy can get him out of the relegation battle.
Well, it feels a bit doom and gloom for Leeds if you're a United fan because we play them twice in 4 days and we know what happens when a team does get a new manager or an interim manager. So, again, we'll talk about why this Premier League season might take another twist towards Arsenal winning the league. But obviously, Leeds sacking Jesse does give me a bit of concern seeing we do face them in the morning. But before we get to the main talking point of this, let's take it a little bit closer. Let's take it a bit down under. Expressions of interest went out for, I can assume it's going to be called the B League in Australia. I guess they haven't mentioned promotion relegation yet. They've been very smart to keep that out. But do you think actually having not just MPL but a second division is a step forward for Australia, or do you think it's way too soon if you don't have promotion relegation?
No, I think the rumours are that they're going to introduce this B League, which will be great for Football Australia. At the current stage, I've heard nothing about a relegation promotion as of yet. I think it's going to be 3-4 years before they start going up and down. Now, I think Football Australia have virtually put out an email saying, if you want to be a part of this B League, email through your expression of interest. They're looking about, I think it was 10 to 15 teams at the moment. They could possibly, include maybe some quarterfinalists or late runners in the FFA Cup. Maybe Sydney United make it there because they made it to the final, but who knows? It will be good for Football Australia, as I said. Again, I'd love to watch a NPL game instead of going to these big empty stadiums.
Well, I mean, it's definitely good for Football Australia because not only have they said you need to make A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and all the way down to Z, they've also said you also have to pay us a fee in order to put forward your expression of interest. So someone at Football Australia is getting some money in their back pocket. To me, I think there's a lot of kinks that you're going to have to work out. Now, they've given a short list by, I think it was the first or second week of June. There's going to be a short list. They're going to pick the teams. Financially, I think a lot of teams are going to struggle to maintain this. But, again, it's a step forward in the right direction. But, Baxter, we all know why we're talking about Around the Grounds. It's a big episode. Before we do jump into that, guys, we're one subscriber away from 100 subscribers on this channel. Let's prove to Aaron that we don't really need him if we're going to get that 100th subscriber, and let's get it today why he's not on the episode. But Baxter. It's on the screen. Manchester City. I am going to play a quick 2 minute 40 video, but obviously you sent kind of explaining what happened. So guys, bear with us. We're going to put it across now. So give us 2 seconds.
Financial fair play rules around 100 times over a 9-year period, which starts in 2009 and goes on until 2018. And you have to bear in mind that during that period, Manchester City won the Premier League title 3 times. Now, the Premier League's financial fair play rules, basically they're designed to ensure that clubs pretty much spend what they earn. And you can get around the rules potentially by inflating how much you're earning or hiding how much you are spending. And according to the Premier League, the Manchester City allegedly broke rules over 9 seasons. They didn't provide accurate financial information. Allegedly, they did not fully disclose the financial remuneration that was made to one of their managers over a 4-year period. That is the suggestion that there was a secret contract. So one of their managers was actually getting paid much more than was officially stated. The Premier League also alleged that Manchester City didn't comply with UEFA's financial fair play rules over a 5-year period. And they also alleged that Manchester City have not fully cooperated with the Premier League's investigation. So, I mean, this is a very, very serious matter for Manchester City. In the past, when they've been investigated by UEFA, they've always insisted that they have done nothing wrong. In February 2020, they were banned by UEFA from European competition for 2 seasons and also fined 30 million euros. They took that case to the Court of Arbitration for Sport. The ban was overturned. The fine was reduced to 10 million euros. And at that CAS hearing, the panel found that most of the breaches alleged were not established or were time barred, which effectively means that they happened too long ago for UEFA to be able to do anything about them. Now, crucially, Premier League rules do not include a time bar. So when Manchester City defend themselves, they cannot say these alleged offences took place too long ago for you to be able to do anything about them.
Well, there you go, Bax. So that's explained now. I'll be honest, I've been absolutely flat out with work, with coaching, so I haven't done too much of a deep dive into here, but I know you have done a bit of research. So besides that video, talk to me. What have you found? What are your thoughts? As an Arsenal fan, you're probably buzzing because if they drop points, we could be 11 points behind you and we're your closest rival. So talk to me about
it. At the moment, it's all alleged, so I'm not going to say it's black and white at this stage. I think it was 2018. So at the end of this, when UEFA put that ban to them, we talked about that 2 European ban, they got it overturned. So it was sort of a slap on the wrist then, but I think now not only do UEFA and the Premier League need to step in moving forward, not against Manchester City, but as a football community across the entire world, maybe we need to put some rules in place that, okay, whatever you earn in 3 years, maybe that's all you can spend in the next season to limit your spending so that clubs are not going under or breaking financial play. It's all on the books. Everybody can see what's going on. Now, look, we've seen Juventus, they just got their 15-point deduction. In my personal opinion, this is not, as an Arsenal fan, this is just me seeing sports across the world when they've been alleged doing the wrong things and it's been proven that they have. Now, let's just say they have done it. I believe they shouldn't be in the Premier League next season. I don't think they should be playing in Europe for quite a number of seasons. I don't think they should be having a transfer ban, and it's up to the Premier League, UEFA, and FIFA to keep and uphold these sanctions if it is all true. In many times, Manchester City and Chelsea in the past have sort of fought it and got it overturned, and sort of their reduced sentence from a year or 2 years down to, oh, well, you served time served. Let's move on. Pep last year, apparently, he was in a meeting with the owners of Manchester City Football Club. That is the umbrella board that looks after Melbourne City here in Australia and New York City FC in America. And he basically said when these sort of allegations sort of first were mentioned, that if you are lying to, I believe you, this is all true, we haven't done anything wrong. And if you have lied to me, and if you are, I will not appear the next day. I will just walk away from the club. So that would possibly be Pep out on his own terms, which will be sad to see, because I believe he's one of the greatest managers across the world, if not in England, standing alone. But I think it's pretty much explanatory itself. Like, you hear people from in Europe who are saying 15 points isn't enough if this is so-called true, because let's just say they have 15 points. They sit, I think, above Liverpool and City at the moment on 30 points with a better goal difference, and they still could have a chance to go all the way and win it all if everybody else falls down around them. So really, is that really teaching them a lesson? I think if it is all true, this is only if it is all true that these allegations come about. Look, I think they should be playing National League again, and I think it's not just 30 million euros. I think it should be 300. Give it to the victims of Ukraine, maybe, and support them out. But what are your thoughts on this whole thing, Tony?
I'm going to start with a big talking point. I believe you can, if you really wanted to, strip the titles from City that they've won, but I don't think you award them to whoever came second. I don't think that's the right thing that you do here. Okay, yes, okay, United could have won the title, Liverpool could have won a few more titles, but like Mark Goldbridge said, you've taken away that Aguero moment. It's always going to be burning our heads that we had the Premier League one. Aguero scores, he rips his shirt off. So you can put an asterisk, you can take away their titles, but you can't really give them to United and Liverpool like some fans have been saying. So from a punishment standpoint, I think if you were to deduct them 15 points, there is no way in the world they're going to make up 20 points on Arsenal this season. I don't think they're going to kick him out of the league. I'd be very shocked if they kick him out of the league, because I feel like if you investigate every club thoroughly in the top 7, 8, someone's dodged the book somewhere. So, again, this is a massive span. It's 100 charges. But what I think you could see happen is this ban them from Europe, suspend them from Europe, deduct them 15 points this year, and next year you start on minus 20 or 15, something like that. I don't think they're going to kick him out of the league. I don't think they're going to relegate him. I do see point deduction. I do see massive fines. I do see transfer bans. It might be that they have to sell Haaland. They have to sell Edison, for example. They have to sell De Bruyne to get under that bracket of what they have to be financially fair play. But for me, I cannot see the Premier League kicking Man City out of the league unless this is like something more major than what Juventus has done in the past, because we all know how hard it was when they got rid of Juventus, Inter, and started Milan on negative points back in the early 2000s. So that's my standpoint on it. Obviously, we won't talk much longer about this because we will move on to obviously Matchday 22. But obviously, if something does happen, if something does get reported, we'll jump back on and we'll release another episode explaining the outcomes or whatever else comes up. But Baxter, let's move on. For me, let's get into a happier week of Premier League football. For you, well, we'll see how you do when you talk about it. But let's kick it off with $300 million that you want Man City to get fined. That's how much Chelsea signed, $300 million, 0-0 versus Fulham. Talk to me about it. Obviously, Enzo Fernandez, I thought played well. Their other signings hit and miss, but again, there was an illness going through, so we don't know if that's obviously hurt a few of those players. But talk to me about this nil or draw result.
I think it was from a Chelsea point of view, a good sort of look at the new players, how they can gel together. I think they only had like a few days really together before they trotted out onto the park as one. So, look, maybe it is a sort of finding the groove of each other and seeing how each other plays and just bouncing off one another, and maybe down the track, like towards the end of the season, they're flying high and they're scoring goals for fun. But give me $300 million and I'll show you how to score a goal at least.
Well, yeah, like you said, it's pretty embarrassing that you spend $300 million and you can't score a goal. Obviously, Joel Felix does come back into this squad after his 3-game suspension after this game. But again, very, very big worrying signs if you're Chelsea. You're dropping points. You're already sitting at 9th, 10th position. You're not playing very good football. So worrying times if you're a Chelsea fan. For Fulham on the flip side, mate, I think I was the only one out of me, Morty, Campbell, and Aaron that had Fulham staying up, and I didn't expect them to be this high. They're sitting in 8th. They've got 32 points. They're currently above the likes of Chelsea, Liverpool, and Leicester. So massive season for them. But yeah, it's more worrying for Chelsea than pride for Fulham. But let's move into the enjoyment of the week, especially for me. One of the enjoyments, it was Everton 1, Arsenal 0. Before this game kicked off, we were having dinner together, and I said, Sean Dyche comes in. I didn't think they were going to win this game. Let's just put it out there. I didn't predict that, but I said Arsenal will drop points. So no Everton manager in 50-something years has lost their first game in charge. Talk to me about it. They've lost the FA Cup game. They've lost this game. Is it a little bit of a hurdle, or is it something more that's happening?
No, I think it's more Sean Dyche. He is another favourite of my manager-wise out there. I'm glad to see him back in the Premier League. I don't think he should have been sacked at Burnley because he just knows how to. When you give him a task and you give him limited funds, he knows how to work out a system.
You disgust me. Sorry, hang on. You disgust me saying he shouldn't be sacked from Burnley. I watched Burnley when they played us with Vincent Kompany, and they're playing some good bloody damn football, so he deserved to get sacked.
No, for 10 years, without the massive amount of money like Chelsea, City, Liverpool, Arsenal, Man U, Tottenham all get every year as a war chest, he probably in that lifetime probably had maybe an eighth of what we have to spend every year, and he improved slowly that Burnley Football Club to stay afloat as many times as they dance with the relegation bottom 3. But again, he's one of my favourite managers out there. It was good to see that, he got the win. I think it would have been a bad start if he had got the loss. But I think it was in training. He said, boys, if you're not wearing beanie on game day, so you're not wearing it in training. You're wearing shin pads on a game day. Well, you're wearing shin pads in training. You're wearing gloves on game day. No, well then don't wear. He was basically, I think football, in his eyes, is doing old school football back where I think like in the likes of you and I when we were all 9 and 10, we trained with shin pads on. And we trained how we were going to play, and that's just what I think he's brought back to the Everton Football Club. And I watched that match from start to finish. I think I watched the pre-game show, and I could see the Everton fans in that Goodison Park just rocking the place down. I was worried. I was scared, not only because of what was happening in our camp. It was more so going across to a new manager. The place was rocking, and now it has become Arteta's sort of voodoo ground, as in he's gone there 3 times and he's lost every single one under 3 different managers. So you can't even say it's the manager getting Arteta's number. It's just something about at Goodison Park. Sorry, maybe it's his old boy system. He doesn't want to sort of kill their hopes and dreams. So we'll go from there. But Look, the last time we lost was to Manchester United, and along the way we've had 2 draws and the rest were wins. So I think a loss now is more of a learning curve going forward. Take this from what we whatever we can from it, and move forward. We can improve on ourselves. I think will be the best thing forward. I think I seen something on Instagram or whatever. Everton get a corner, so we makes a substitution. On comes Jorginho, and they score directly afterwards, and they're calling Jorginho the massive flop of the January transfer signing. He wasn't even on the park for a minute, and they call him a flop. I don't think it's a bit harsh to say things like that, but look, good job, Everton. They won. They fully deserved it. And the week looked dim until the last game.
Well, I mean, I'm not going to call him a flop, but I'm going to say, and here comes Agent Jorginho to cost Arsenal the title. Let's just put it that way. We'll see how it plays out. I'm sure he had nothing to do with it, with his about this tour, and he's not really good at winning headers. So I'm not really going to blame him for that. For Everton, what I saw was a team that's going to fight, a team that's going to stick in. We're not as talented. We don't have the big name players, but we're going to stick in. We're going to go 100 miles per hour. We're going to press them every time they have the ball now. Arsenal, possession, dominated. 70-30, all over him with the ball. On the flip side, they only had 3 shots on target. And I think that's a concerning thing for Arteta moving forward is there's going to be games where you need to rest some players so that they don't fatigue. And yes, okay, you lost the FA Cup. You rested someone. But one game is not enough to sustain a full season, especially when you guys are going to make a run in the league still. You're going to want to make a run in the Europa League. One game's not enough to rest these players, but good result for Everton. They now sit 1 point outside the drop. If they win their next game, they could be equal 4 teams. So that shows you how close that bottom of the ladder is. For Arsenal, blip on the radar. They're still favourites, heavy favourites to take out this title. They have some big games coming out, so that could change. But Baxter, before we move on, is there anything else you want to add?
I reckon Everton to win the next game away at Anfield. So, come on, Sean Dyche.
Is that who they've got next? They go, oh my god!
Yeah, Tuesday morning, 7 a.m.
I mean, you know what? I'm just gonna quickly open up this. They're $6. They're $6 underdogs, so that's not a bad punt if you want to have a pump of gamble responsibly, mate. It's late at night, but let's move on. It is the Doves that haunt Liverpool. It's Brighton 1, Bournemouth 0, another win. And this is what kind of, to me, screams give Potter more time. He's implemented whatever he's implemented at Brighton. It's taken a few years, but even with him leaving now, the systems that are in place, players are leaving, players are coming, they're moving, players are putting Instagram posts up saying, thank you for my time, like absolute fucking idiots, and then staying at the club. So maybe Chelsea, give him a bit more time. Don't give him an unlimited budget, but give him the players he wants to bring across. But Brighton 1, Bournemouth 0. Bournemouth now sit 2 points inside that relegation zone. They're second last. They're looking dismal. Brighton, they're sitting 6th. They're fighting for that Europa, fighting for that conference, maybe even Champions League football. But what were your thoughts on Brighton? What were your thoughts on Bournemouth? And what are your thoughts on this result as a whole for the Premier League season?
Yeah, I think you touched on it with the Graham Potter system. You always want to leave the club in a better state than you did when you arrived, and I think he has done that. Just that. Brighton looked really good, and I think they could be pushing for Europe alongside Newcastle United.
Yeah, brilliant. Like I said, Brighton, they're a great side. Newcastle have started to stumble a little bit, so it'll be interesting on who gets it. I'm still going to have to throw Spurs and Newcastle ahead of them in my favoritism to get that, but obviously we'll see as the season progresses now. Moving on to my boys, United 2, Crystal Palace 1. Now, as a United fan in the last couple of years, if there was teams above us or below us in Chelsea's instance, but a big 6 club that was to drop points, we'd usually come out 2 hours later and we'd drop points and wouldn't take advantage of it. It just so happens this week, Chelsea dropped points, Arsenal dropped points, Tottenham win. Liverpool drop points, City drop points, United somehow pick up points. 2-1. We probably deserved more. We should have been 2 or 3 up after the first 25 minutes. But the main talking point, Casemiro suspended, red carded. I think it was stupid what he did. I don't think there was any malice in the suspension, but when you put your hands around a player's neck, you can't really argue if the ref gives you a yellow or red card. You're just going to cop that on the chin. But I guess what were your thoughts on the result? What are your thoughts on United? Obviously, are we in the title race? Are we not in the title race? I'm still more leaning towards that no, unless you guys drop points to City. But what are your thoughts on that? And what are your thoughts on the Casemiro red card?
I'll lean towards the no on the title race. At the moment, you sit 8 points behind us, with us having a game in hand. He looked good. As you touched on it, you would usually be the one that dropped points. Now it's reversed. It's you that's picking up those points. I think I've always got to say, when you never double-handed choke someone or anything in that regard. Only if it's if they want it. So just don't double-hand choke anything, please. Seriously, just don't.
I've now clicked no on is this kid friendly for the rest of this podcast. So again, Casemiro, red card, choking, whether they want it or not, probably, leave that one to behind closed doors, away from the camera. But Casemiro, 3 games, Leeds, Leicester. He's played a lot of games. If you put your feet in a United standpoint for a second, imagine you're either on the board, you're on the coaching staff. If there was 3 games he was going to miss, surely these are the 3 games that you go, I'm pissed off, but okay.
Yeah, you could say that, but now Leeds have sacked their manager, so they're going to be like same as Everton, want to play for the new coach if they do get a new coach in time, or better yet, they try and battle it out hard to keep their spots, because a new manager could go in and go, all right, you, I don't like the way you play, you're sitting off, and XYZ come onto the pitch. So really they're going to be battling out for position, and why not against a stormy, fiery Manchester United without a Casemiro. I think the last time you didn't play him, you got touched up at the Emirates, so it'll be a good game.
I'll go as far as saying touched up, because your own legend. So unless you're going to disagree with Thierry Henry, who's a club legend, well, that's up to you. But obviously he has done. It is Anthony Hudson. He has led the USA in a few friendly matches. He's done a bit of work at Tottenham. I believe he was somewhere thereabouts with United a couple years ago. He's done stuff in Newport County. So he's done stuff in the Premier League. He's done stuff in the lower divisions. He's even done stuff at United. So he's not a no-name, but he has been named. So it'll be interesting to see, does he get him for the rest of the season, or do they look elsewhere for a manager? That's still yet to see. But moving on, it was Brentford, who are high-flying 3, versus Southampton, bottom of the league 0. For me, a result like this almost says, Southampton, you're going down this year if you're going to play football like this. Again, Brentford flying. They deserve to be up. They deserve to be where they are. But I guess, what are your thoughts on Brentford? Because you are playing them, I believe, next. So you are playing them next at the Emirates. So what were your thoughts on Brentford in this game, and what can you expect when they do rock up to the Emirates this weekend?
Well, I don't want to be too biased, but the Emirates has been a little bit of a fortress this year. I don't think we have lost a game when it comes to us being at home. So that's a tick in our box. But if we're talking on form, we've lost. They're coming off a win in the same week. So it will be a good game to watch. I'll be getting up for it regardless of what time that is. But hats off to Brentford. 3-0 over Southampton. Unlucky Gibbo, because your team's going down, and I don't want to say it because I know how much you love the Saints.
Well, like you said, it's a very, very high realistic I guess, motion that right now Southampton are going down. They are sitting bottom. They're showing glimpses at times, but probably not enough to stay up in the Premier League. But we'll see what happens there. But another team that's probably had their go their way, they're the most, I don't want to say favoured team because some of the decisions that they got were correct, but if VAR didn't exist, this team would be 3 to 6 points above the drop. It's Liverpool going down again to Wolves. It was Wolves 3, Liverpool 0. What is going on at Liverpool now? Is it Klopp? Is it the players? Is it injuries that no other team apparently has, if you ask a Liverpool fan? What do you think is going on, and what do you put this result to? Wolves on fire, Liverpool struggling, or just one of those games?
No, it's not one of those games. It's the 7-year curse for Klopp. Everywhere he goes in his 7th year, he turns to ashes. He builds a castle and poof, off it goes like fireworks, and you're just left with ashes when he leaves. So, unlucky Liverpool. Hats off, he built a club up to where it was. Remember, they put up a stat and had like the worst strike, the front three ever in the Premier League to be assembled, and you build them into this Premier League and Champions League club winners. So you gotta give him respect in that regard. But Van Dijk doesn't look like the player he is coming back from that ACL after the Jordan Pickford tackle in COVID times. Trent just seems to be in two minds. He wants to play this high. Trent's just in these two minds. I believe he wants to be this attacking player that supports, but at the same time he needs to be in the defending right back position, and he gets caught out too many times. And again, Virgil van Dijk, I don't think he has the speed after that injury. You've got an aging Milner on the bench. They've got probably on paper the greatest strike power this game in the world, I believe, but they keep signing strike powers, but release midfielders, and they don't have anybody to replace them. They got Jordan Henderson. Yeah, he's a good squad player, but is he elite? No, I don't believe so. They left Gigi Wijnaldum, who is better. On a free, they could have really used him out here. Cabineta, I don't know what his situation is going on. Whether it feels like he's always injured, he never plays. So, if that's the case, getting rid off your books. You got Cody Gakpo, you got Jota up there, you got Diaz, you got Salah, you got Nunez. I think it's just a bit of everything, bit of the defense, bit of Klopp, bit of missing midfielder. Striker's not striking. Everything's going down the hill, but hey, you could all turn around in the Champions League for them, and they could make a run at it, and they could win the Champions League, and you go, oh, that was a pretty good season as a Liverpool standpoint, but I don't see him making them out, going any further past the round of 16.
Yeah, I think they're going to struggle. Obviously, they have a big matchup coming up in the Champions League. Before anyone jumps in and tries to say Virgil van Dijk's injured, yes, Baxter knows that. He's talking as a whole since he came back from that ACL injury. Yes, at the moment he is injured, but even when he was playing before this thigh injury, he hasn't looked himself. So just wanted to give a bit of context because we've spoken about it, but as you know, the keyboard warriors are going to be like, Van Dijk didn't even play. So just thought I cleared that one up. But let's move on to not the best debut, but Harry Souttar did debut for Leicester City.
What a
we
great
said he was
game.
going to get on this. We said he was going to get on the score sheet. He did, the wrong side, but an Australian debuts in the league. Unfortunate deflection for the own goal, but I think nonetheless, besides that unfortunate deflection, I thought he had a really good game. He had the clearances, he had the passes, he won the aerial battles, and you know what? In the end, he won the game. So happy days. The nerves of a Premier League debut are behind you. And I think what people forget was this guy was signed off how good he was prior to his ACL surgery, how good he was at the World Cup. But a lot of people forget that, mate, this guy's only played about 10 games in a year and a half. So let's just cut him a bit of slack. He's at the back. He's going to be there for a very long time. And Obviously, massive props to Suter for making the Premier League. For me, this game was a shootout. I think it was 5 goals before halftime. No real team had good defense, but I don't think there's too much more to add to this for me. But is there anything you want to add besides your congratulations to Suter?
No, I think you're right. 5 goals before half time. This was a Western shootout, goal for goal, goal for goal. But hey, he's done something more than any of us combined. He's scored a goal in the Premier League, regardless of which net it went into. So hats off, mate. You're living the dream of all of us that we wanted to play in the Premier League when we were younger. So keep on doing it, and I think you'll thrive.
Now, mate, you're a goalkeeper, so you got to make sure you choose your words correctly in the English Premier League, because I've scored a few goals in the Premier League local European competition. So maybe Harry Smither's got to come here and see if he can prove it amongst the big boys, where if you get past someone, you get chopped every 5 seconds. But moving moving into a team, you could say it's a bit of a hangover. They have obviously qualified for their first cup final in a very, very, very long time. But Newcastle won, West Ham won. A slip up in form that does drop them now into that 4th position. United are ahead of them. Talk to me about this one.
I think this was from both teams. I think this is a game in which a win was a must. Neither team wanted to come away with 0 or 1 point. They wanted all 3 points to themselves. Newcastle, obviously, to keep that 3rd spot, which they've lost. West Ham to gain more points to push themselves away from the relegation battle. And now they sit 1 point above the relegation drop in 16th. It's going to be some tough times for the both of them coming up. So just having a quick look. West Ham have got Chelsea at home Saturday at 11:30 p.m. and Newcastle have Bournemouth down the coast. So a point's not bad, but it does hurt when you sit. When I'm talking from Newcastle, when you're sitting 3rd, Newcastle win. Manchester United win their game, so you must win to keep 3rd, and you've got a team from the North London coming up behind you and putting pressure on you. That way, you don't want to lose the Champions League spot. But it is what it is. They've got to move on, take the losses, take the gains where they can, and move on from the losses.
I will say this Newcastle side. It's a side that's probably, and I think a lot of teams have, but they've really been hurt with that World Cup stop in momentum now. Opta Sport did release a picture today. I'm looking at Newcastle in 2023. They've played 4 games. They've only won 1. They've drawn 3. So they are still yet to lose in 2023, but they aren't picking up a lot of points. They're dropping a lot of points with draws. So again, not all doom or gloom. I hope they don't, but if they were to drop out of the top 6 and lift the Carabao Cup at the end of the season, I think their fans are going to go, you beauty, let's take on the Conference and Europa League. But moving on to a team that has been high flying since 2023 has started. It's Nottingham Forest 1, Leeds 0. 5 games played so far in 2023. They've won 3 points. They've won 3 games, 2 draws. They have 11 points now. Talking from a standpoint of someone that has no idea what we're talking about, they're probably going, oh, they've got 11 points from 5 games. But when you think they've only got 24 points in the season, that's a big start to 2023. So the final nail in Jesse Marsh's coffin, a big 3 points for Forest to move away from that relegation. 700 signings later, they look like they finally gained momentum. Talk to me about it.
Yeah, well, when you've got a squad of like 52, I didn't know if they were playing football or if they were playing in the American Gridiron League over there in America with the numbers that they have. So, look, hats off again to Nottingham Forest, killing off Jesse Marsh's managerial career at Leeds. Sad to see him go. As I said, maybe Big Sammy comes in and saves Leeds, but hopefully Nottingham Forest keeps on this run and stays away from the relegation battle, which they are at 13.
Well, one of the key signings that they've made in January, which I want to talk about, because arguably they already had Dean Henderson, who I think we can both agree on his day could be a really, really good keeper. But Keylor Navas, debuted in this game for Nottingham. Leeds had 70% possession, 10 shots attempts, 4 on goal. He walks away with a clean sheet. So is this a team where they're going, listen, all we have to do this year is survive? We'll build a team slowly with all these signings. We'll start building more talent, this, and that. We'll work our way into the top half. Or is this a team that's just going, throw the checkbook out, let's survive the season, and we'll do what we have to do next year?
I think they're going to survive this season. I don't think most of their signings were loanees. So they're going to lose a lot of players, which, okay, is good on the wage bill, good on the squad number. So you're not competing with as many players to get games time. But I think after this season is done, look at all the loanee players that you're going to let go and sign maybe a handful, if not less, maybe key players that you want to keep and get rid of the rest, and then just look on for next season. Maybe they sign Keylor Navas on a permanent deal. Maybe he's a Champions League winner. He's played at the top of the top, so I think having him and Dean Henderson fighting out for that goalkeeper's position will be good. It will be healthy. I know what that's like to try and get top spot from a player who's been there and done that. So it'll be good. It'll be good, but just survive this season, Nottingham. Stay up, get the money from the TV rights, invest in the right areas. That's what I'm going to say. Just don't throw the checkbook out. Look at Newcastle. The biggest signing was Guilherme Maris, the Brazilian from Lyon, and probably that's it. So if you want to take a leaf out of anybody's book, take it out of Newcastle when you got money.
I mean, it's a very easy way for Newcastle to do it, because if they fuck up, they'll just get rid of him and they've got another $700 billion to spend. So, like you said, Forrest, your wage bill might be high, but you just have to manage that. And if you stay up, then that probably counteracts itself. But like you said before, the week was looking doom and gloom. Then this result happened. Tottenham 1, Manchester City 0. I almost said United because I'm so used to us dropping points when teams lose, but it's a shame. Not because City lost, but I think it's just a shame because how do I explain this? A title race could end very quickly, and Arsenal deserve to be favourites. They deserve to win the title, but this is a game where you just expected City to come out. Now, Haaland hasn't been firing as much as he was prior to the World Cup, so there's reports that him and Pep don't see eye to eye. Maybe teams have done their homework and he's getting pocketed. Massive shout out before I throw it over to you to Harry Kane, Mr. One Season Wonder, broke the Spurs all-time goal scoring record, and he does move into that 200 goals in the Premier League. So talk to me about this result. You're obviously buzzing about it. Talk to me about Kane, and talk to me about, I guess, Man City dropping points and now all this drama that's come out. Did they know before? Did that play into this game? What are your thoughts?
I gotta say this, and I'm not. This is, as an Arsenal fan, I think you need to take this, Tottenham. You've finally done North London proud. You've done something well. I know last time you played Man City, I wouldn't give you my dog leads at all because you wouldn't be able to hold on to them. But congratulations, Tottenham. You beat City. You are the first team to sort of neutralise Haaland in not letting him have a single shot at all on target or at all in the game.
Any shots against Luke Shaw?
Well, Luke Shaw, who? I don't know who that player is. But as a whole, good on Tottenham. They, neutralised Haaland. I think he's another player who's suffering from the World Cup stoppage. Do the players know what was going about these allegations? Possibly, maybe not. Maybe some of them just go on, I'm here to play football, not to worry about that. Now, you say that Haaland's not really seeing eye to eye to Pep. I think there's a lot of players who are not seeing eye to eye to Pep. And Pep's famous words of how does he keep winning the Premier League is you've always got to buy new players. You've always got to shake the squad, get rid of the old players that have had enough of you, and get new players in. But City, this is my happy period because they lose. We keep our gap on top at 5. Harry Kane breaks the all-time goal-scoring record at Spurs. Great. Does that give him a trophy? No. So, in my opinion, put your transfer notice in and go chase some titles like Van Persie did. I think you deserve it. After the career you had at Tottenham or have at Tottenham, so go chase some titles. And I don't think anybody could be sad if you did leave to go get titles. Maybe you can come join Arsenal because you have more chance at winning any trophy than you do at that bottle club. But it is what it is, and we'll move on from there.
Well, I think there's one club he's not going to go to, and it probably is Arsenal. Let's just be quite frank there. But we're going to end this episode on a bit of a lighter note. We're still making fun out of Manchester City, but I'm just going to share my screen. I'm going to go across to the tab. Let's just share this up from sports, but I think this is an absolute cracker about potential punishments for Manchester City, deduction of points for the 22-23 season. They're going to confiscate their Premier League titles. Haaland's going to get a free transfer to United. All games are going to be called solo by Martin Tyler. Pep is going to be replaced by Sam Allardyce. The Etihad to be renamed Jetstar Stadium. Foden will have to keep his same haircut for his entire contract. And we're going to relegate them to the A-League. So that's an absolute great banter post there by Sportsbet. But Baxter, we're pushing 50 minutes. There was a lot to cover. I think we're up to about 20 minutes when we're still talking about around the ground. So we've done our best. If you are still here, hit like, hit subscribe. One subscribe away from that magic number of 100. Help us get there. But Baxter, thank you for joining me. I'm sure you're buzzing to watch Arsenal bounce back, and I'm buzzing to watch United continue to form. So who knows? If Chelsea and Liverpool drop points, we both might be here again next week running this show. So thanks for joining me, mate, and I'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, peace.